Hello students, welcome to AriserTalent. As you know, we are studying chapter diversity in living organisms. So today we are here to discuss the questions, important questions of NCERT. So here we go. Number 1 is, why do we classify organisms? In this chapter, we have studied that we need to classify organisms into different groups and subgroups. But why? Because we all know that there is a vast variety of living organism in the biosphere, whether it is a lithosphere, hydrosphere. Okay, so there is a vast variety of living organism in the biosphere, and it's not possible for us to study them separately and individually because they vary in shape, size and form. So this is the reason we have classified, means scientists have classified them into these different groups and subgroups so that we can easily identify them and we can study about them. Clear? So here we go with the answer. Answer is, there is vast variety of living organisms in the biosphere. Okay, and they all vary in shape, size and forms. Means there is a vast variety of living organisms in the biosphere. They vary in shape, size and forms. Even they have the different characteristics. So it's not possible to study them all separately and individually. Thus, it's, or we can say it is not possible to study all the organism separately and individually. Okay, so organisms are classified into different groups and subgroups to make the study easy and convenient. Okay, if organism will be classified on the basis of similarities, dissimilarities and due to the interrelationship among the different groups, then if they are classified into different groups, then it will be easy for everyone to study them, to identify them. Okay, and it will be very easy and convenient to identify them and study them. This is the reason that organisms are classified into different groups and subgroups. Clear? Here we go with the other question, that is, give 3 examples on the range of variation that you see in life forms around you. Whatever life forms are present around us, what do we find, what variations we find in them? We find the variation on the basis of their size, on the basis of their lifespan and on the basis of their color. So here we go with the answer. Three examples of the range of variations. Examples of range of variations are, first of all, we will talk about size, okay, So different living organisms vary in size. Some are microscopic and some are too large that they are large in meters. They vary in size. So here we can say that living organisms vary in size from few meters or micrometers like microscopic bacteria. We all know that bacteria are too small that we can see them with the microscope only, that microscopic bacteria. To many meters like 30 meter long, or we can mention that is 30 meter long. Example, blue whale. Okay, so they both vary in size. One is too small that we can see with the help of microscope only, and another one like blue whale is too long that it is in 30 meter in length, so we can see it with the naked eyes. Okay, another feature is lifespan. So then we can say that some organisms have the lifespan of only few days and some have the lifespan of thousands of years, like pine tree. Here we mention some living organisms have lifespan of just few days, like mosquitoes, and some organisms have lifespan of several thousand years. Several thousand years. For example, pine tree. Okay, so variation of lifespan is like living organism like mosquito, which have the lifespan of only a few days, rather than pine tree. Okay, it has a lifespan of several thousand years. So there is the variation of lifespan too. Next is color. Okay, so some living organisms have colorless, some are transparent, and some are of different colors like flowers and fruits. Some living organism are colorless or transparent, and some have bright colors like flowers. Okay, so there is the variation. These are the different variations, okay, like size, lifespan and color. Okay, so answer of the question that examples of range of variation that we found in the life forms around us, that are size, lifespan and color. Next is, what is the primary characteristics on which the first division of organism is made? as we know about the 5 kingdom classification, then in that first of all we have studied that organisms are divided into 2 categories. They are prokaryotics and eukaryotic. Okay, so here the question is, what is the primary characteristics on which the first division of organism is made? So first of all, when they were categorized into the 2 groups, they were prokaryotics and eukaryotics. What were the prokaryotics? Whether the genetic material is surrounded by membrane or not. First of all, the characteristic was that the genetic material which is present in the organism, whether it is membrane bound or not. If the genetic material was not membrane bound, then the organisms were classified into the prokaryotic group, and the organisms means living organisms in which the genetic material was organized by cell membrane, then they were kept in the eukaryotic group. Okay, so here we go with the answer, that primary characteristics were primary characteristics of first division are prokaryotic, prokaryotes means genetic material is not bound with membrane and first was prokaryotic and other was eukaryotic or eukaryotes. Eukaryote means genetic material is membrane bound. Okay, so these were the features on which the first division was made. What was they? Whether the genetic material is membrane bound or not. If the genetic material is not membrane bound, that they were kept in the prokaryotic group, means they were known as prokaryotes, and if the genetic material was bound with membrane, then they were kept in the eukaryote group. Clear? Next is, on what basis are plants and animals put into different categories? As we all know that plants and animals have different characteristics. Okay, what are they? On the basis of those different characteristics, means on the basis of their dissimilarities, they were kept in the different group. So what were the dissimilarities? Here we go with the answer. First of all, if we talk about the plants, then we all know that plants are stationary. They are fixed at one place, but animals are motile. So here we can mention that plants are stationary. Plants are stationary, whereas animals are motile. They move from one place to another, sometimes for food, sometimes for shelter, sometimes for protection. Okay, so first dissimilarity between both were that they were kept in the other groups, they were kept in the different groups on the basis of the first feature that plants were stationary, means plants were fixed at one place, whether the animals were motile, means they move from one place to another. Okay, next, plants are autotrophic. Plants are autotrophic, whereas animals are heterotrophic. Plants are autotrophic, means they can synthesize their own food by the process of photosynthesis. But if we talk about the animals, then animals are heterotrophic because they cannot make their own food as they do not have chlorophyll. So they are depend on other animals, or they are depend on environment for their food. So these are the dissimilarities. On the basis of these dissimilarities, they were kept in the different groups. Next is plants have cell wall, but animals do not have cell wall. Plants have cell wall, whereas animals lack cell wall. Clear? So another feature was that plants have cell wall, which provide them rigidity. Okay, but cell wall is absent in animals. Clear? Next is plants have indefinite growth. They grow throughout their life. But if we talk about the animals, then they stop growing after a particular time. Plants grow indefinitely. Plants grow indefinitely, whereas animals stop growing after a certain time period. Okay, means after a certain time period, the body stop growing. Okay, once they take a particular shape, once they take a particular length, then they stop growing. But it doesn't happen with the plants. Plants grow indefinitely. Okay, so these were the dissimilarities. On the basis of these features, on the basis of these dissimilarities, the plants and animals are classified into the different groups. Clear? Next is, what are the advantages of classifying organism? As I told you that there is a vast variety of organism on the earth. So we cannot study them separately, we cannot study them individually. So we have classified them into the different groups because classification makes the study of organism easy and convenient. Second, we can identify them easily. So we can say that classification makes the identification easy. And then here we go with the answer. What are the advantages? The advantage of classification are what are the advantages of classification? That classification makes the study easy and convenient. Here we can mention that classification makes the study of such a vast variety or wide variety of organism easy and convenient. Okay, easy and convenient. Thus it helps in bringing out similarities and dissimilarities it helps in bringing out similarities and dissimilarities among organisms. Okay, once we come out to know about their similarities, then the organisms which have the similar characteristics, they are classified into the one group, and those have dissimilarities, they are classified into different groups. Okay, so it helps in bringing out similarities and dissimilarities among organisms. Next, we can say that it helps to understand, it helps to understand the interrelationship among the different groups and it helps in identification of organism. Okay, so these are the benefit, these are the advantage to classify animals in the different groups. What are they? First of all, that classification make the study of organism easy and convenient. Second, it brings out similarities and dissimilarities among the organism. It helps to understand the interrelationship among the different groups, and it helps to identify the organism. Okay, so these are the advantages of classification. Next is explain the basis for grouping organism into 5 kingdom. As we all know that organisms are classified into 5 kingdom. What are they? Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So once they are classified into the different groups, what are the characteristics on which we have to, or on which scientists have classified the organism into 5 kingdoms? So they are, here we go, that basis of grouping organisms into 5 kingdom are so what are the bases on which the organisms are grouped into 5 kingdoms? So first of all, what are the 5 kingdoms? They are Monera, Protista, Fungi, then Plantae and Animalia. So what were the bases? What are the features on which they were classified on the different groups? Number 1, complexity of cell structure. First of all, complexity of cell structure. First feature is complexity of cell structure, whether the cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Okay, if the cell is prokaryotic, then they were kept on the different group, means if the genetic material is not membrane bound, then they were known as prokaryotes and then they were kept in the different group. And if the cell is eukaryotic, means they genetic material is membrane bound, then they were kept in the different group. Next is whether unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular or multicellular. Okay, once they were classified into two groups, means once they were kept in the two groups, prokaryotes and eukaryotes, then again they were classified into the basis of whether they are unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular means if they have one cells like amoeba, and if they are multicellular then other organisms which are made of many cells. Okay, so here we can mention unicellular means made up of one cell, multicellular means made up of many cells. So on the basis of unicellular and multicellular, again they were grouped in the they were classified into different groups. Next is cell wall is present or absent. Cell wall is present or absent. Okay, if the cell wall is present, then they were kept in the plantae group. If the cell wall is absent, then they were again kept in the animalia group. Okay, then next feature was whether they are autotrophic or heterotrophic, means mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition. What kind of mode of nutrition they have, whether they are autotrophic or heterotrophic. Mode of nutrition is of two types. Autotrophic means synthesize their own food. Synthesize their own food. Or heterotrophic means depend for food on environment. Okay, so these were the features, these were the basic features, basic characteristics on which they have classified the organisms into the 5 kingdom. Okay, what are they? Complexity of cell structure means they are prokaryotic or eukaryotic, or they are unicellular or multicellular. Cell wall is present or absent. If the cell wall is present, then they were kept in the plant group, and if the cell wall is absent, then they were kept in the animalia group. Mode of nutrition, if they are autotrophic, means if they can synthesize their own food by the process of photosynthesis, then they were kept in the different group. And if they were heterotrophic, means they do not have chlorophyll, they cannot perform the photosynthesis, they cannot make their food, and they are depend for the food on environment, then they were known as heterotrophic, and they were classified into the different groups. So these were the basic characteristics on which the 5 kingdom classification was done. Okay, hope all those answers are clear to you. You have got all the answers very well, you have understood them. Hope everything is clear to you now. Thank you.